In our last classes, we discussed about history, is how history is very important subject in the paper of general studies, which is a compulsory paper for civil services examination. And let me tell you how history can be highly scoring for the students. Students normally ignore the importance of history. That we have seen that in the last few years, history has gained momentum and gave us confidence uh, regarding the cracking of the examination, which is very challenging for all the students who appear in the examinations. My friends, we should be very careful in the study of our history, particularly Indian history, because there are perception, there are narratives, there are themes inside the history which should be correctly understood. If we fail to understand the historical concept in right perspective, we would be failing in our duty to do justice to ourselves as an aspirant of civil services examination. We should not forget that history is what defines the civilization. History is what teaches us how to be intelligent, how to be wise. History is what repeats itself. History is what shows us the path towards future. History is what that makes us civilized and humanized by taking inspiration from the incidents and happening that occurred long ago, that occurred in the midst of battles, in the midst of fights among dynasties, and how some errors led to the downfall to the dynasties after dynasty, and how the great men who choose to remain neutral became victim of the cruelty of history. My friend, we should not forget that history constitutes the core of general studies, because it is history. If we study the economic history, we would learn how our society became rich or impoverished by the certain blunders, mistakes, or error, or by certain good action or deeds. It is history that taught us to be civilized, that taught us to remain vigilant, to remain wise against any kind of, any kind of error that may be committed by us consciously or unconsciously, by turning impulsive or by turning unwise. So you should learn history in right perspective. If we understand a particular incident of history that occurred in history in right perspective, we would be able many more questions of civil services paper when the paper come on our table in the examination room. Most of the students commit mistakes of not understanding themes, narrative inside the history in right perspective, and that is the very reason why most of the questions which are easy and can be cracked easily are left by the students, and that is how they fail to crack the examination. So today we are going to teach you, we are going to describe to learn the right perspective in history. Look at ancient history of India. Ancient history of India is what laid the civilization of Indian culture, civilization of India. It defined how Indian culture look like today. Our culture is rooted in our Indian ancient historical developments, the Indus Valley civilization, the Harappa civilization, and after Harappa civilization, Vedic civilization, where India's rich culture flourished, where when Vedas were written and composed, where rishis and munis did tapasya to give the big name to this civilization and make it a prominent civilization on the map of the world. The ancient civilizations, if understood in right perspective, can better equip the students to learn more and more, and in better perspective the next stage of history, which is medieval history of India. And then we can also understand how the ancient history affected the medieval history of India, and in turn the medieval history of India affected the modern history of India. In recent time, the importance that is being attached to ancient history of India. Nevertheless, we should not forget that each stage of Indian history has its own importance and should also not be interlinked with each other, because the upheavals in each stage of Indian history is sometimes demarcatedly distinguished from each other. So now we will at full length discuss the importance and how this ancient glorious past of India unfolded, developed and gave rise the great civilization of India, and how this was eclipsed when the invasion from the foreign countries, foreign powers took place and tried to undermine the glorious past of the ancient Indian culture. Because a community or a nation, when forget its ancient past, can never flourish or can never develop to its full potential. So, my friends and students who are going to appear in the examination should keep in mind that of all the four parts of Indian history, ancient Indian history, medieval Indian history, modern Indian history and national movement of India, ancient Indian culture and ancient Indian history is the most important part, because this is the base. It will provide the perspective, it will broaden your ideological perspective about India, its past and its present, and will be fully equipping you with tools and instruments as to how to face the challenges in future. Not only civil services examination, but there are many other examinations where these portions constitute the core of the papers. You will be able to crack many more questions in the examination, like railways and banking, state civil services, SSC examinations very well and very easily, comfortably. I hope you will be focusing on Indian history and culture more focusedly and more attentively in my lecture, in my interaction with you. In our next video, we will take ancient Indian culture chapter by chapter, and then finish in a week or 10 days this entire portion of Indian history. Thank you.